You remember the scene when like Peter Quill reunites with his granddad? 40 years, and people were like, oh, you immediately recognize him after so long, that's cute. And as cute as it is, I don't believe it for a second. Like, I'm sorry. Oh, he's traumatized and it's so ingrained into his brain what he would look like. And now I'm making this video, I'm like, oh, I kind of see it more, but I still don't believe it because something about it that doesn't sit right with me. I have this MCU headcanon or theory or story I made up in my head that not only makes so much sense as to why, even more, and that's the story of Jason Quill, Peter Quill's grandfather. Like, the reason why he recognized him immediately was because of Steve Rogers. Y'all can disagree with me and just look at it as,
oh, it's been decades and you get to see him. That's cute.
Okay, fine. I'm fine with that. It's an easy assumption. That's fair. That's a fair assumption. However, this theory I have makes things so much more sense, in my opinion. So, hear me out. Let's start at the beginning, okay? Jason Quill led a tragic life. You were married, your daughter ran off with a guy in 1980, named Kurt Russell, Equal to Living Planet, and you were like, I don't know, I disapprove or whatever. I found that dude kind of weird. And then she came back, not only Kurt Russell left her, but also she was sick with the big C word. And now you have to deal with take care of her in her home with your grandson as well. Your grandson, Peter Quill, and then, as every superhero's life, their parent gets murdered, or their parent dies. Canon event. And Peter Quill's, obviously, the scene at the beginning of Guardians, he sees her mom pass away, he crashes out, and then Jason takes his grandson out of the room. I'm gonna finish grieving with the family and I'll take you home. That's literally what I assume what his mind was going through. I have to finish grieving because my daughter just freaking died, even though it's not the best move to take my grandson out of the room, but I didn't want to just cause a big old screaming scene. I just want us to mourn calmly. And unfortunately, when he goes out again, and this is actually confirmed by James Gunn, actually. When he did Guardians, there was going to be a scene where Jason Quill he barely saw him being abducted to space. And the conceit is that he's waiting for the day he comes home. The fact he lost her daughter, but lost her grandson. Imagine you have to experience that on the same day. That is bonkers. And apparently according to the wiki, because I checked the wiki last night, and there were barely, at the time of this recording, there were things I didn't even knew about Jason Quill. Like, first of all, like shortly after that, his wife died, and then he remarried to the caretaker. I thought the woman at the end of that scene was the caretaker or something, but I didn't know. But I forget that it's actually like his other wife. And not only that, apparently the cameo in Guardians 2 of like an old man like on the drive during the expansion, that literally was him. I was like, oh really? That's new. Okay. So your whole life in the back of your head, it's like, are you crazy for believing that he was abducted to space? This is where it gets crazy. Many years later. Now, I don't know if it got snapped or blip. I don't know if he did. I want to say he got snapped. Endgame happens. Now, this is the big thing that I always had in my head ever since Endgame came out. Of like, Peter Quill is on Earth. Hello? Obviously then realized Peter Quill, the only thing that mattered to him is not here. Like, the only thing that mattered to him in his world is his mother. I understand even more today because, remember, it took like, 30 years for him to open his mom's present because he was so scared to face his past. Same thing with Guardians 3, how it took him this long to finally see his granddad. It's kind of pretty consistent with his character, which is why he's so stubborn. And remember, Endgame happened, the whole battle, and there was a time between Endgame, the Thanos battle, and Tony Stark's funeral. Like, I assume everybody stayed to help clean stuff, and then the Stark funeral happens, and then they fled. That's what the Guardians were doing. Now, this fits perfectly with another Guardians scene that is so rent-free in my head that I want to talk about it.
What?
Steve, I know you're an optimistic, nice guy. Contrary to what the internet likes to meme you on being the most racist superhero, because you're a man of the past. I'm not going to get into that. I know, I'm not taking it that seriously. I'm just saying just in case anyone believes it for some reason, which is stupid. But the point is, let's say a week happens, maximum, to, between the time of repair. Let's say a week or less, okay? Peter, not only the fact that he's on Earth, but also he has to, grieve over Gamora because now he's like, oh, I lost her, but found her, but it's not the one he knows, and it's a whole thing. And he's stubborn and stays on the ship the whole time. The Guardians, everybody else, because Rocket knew the Avengers, is like, okay, Quill, you're gonna be stubborn in here. The actual Earthling is gonna not embrace Earth. We could just hang around here. And which leads to Steve Rogers meeting the rest of the Guardians. And Mantis, I want to see a short on this so badly. I want to see a story about this. Like, someone needs to animate this. The story of Mantis and Steve Rogers. And here's my pitch. Okay, let's say Marvel, they're never gonna do this, but let's say Marvel does a short, okay, about like Steve Rogers and the Guardians. It's a full perfect circle moment for Steve Rogers because you know how he has the list he has to do to catch up on this planet, to catch up on the time he's in now? He feels like because the Guardians has never been on Earth before, he's like, how about I do the thing that I've been doing my whole life and catching up on the planet. The first few couple days, he has to spend time with, Bucky and Sam because he hasn't seen them in forever. But then later on, at some point, he comes up to the Guardians and is like, what's your story, guys? Like, I'm just curious. What's your story? And then, obviously, the Guardians were whipped for his wholesomeness. I don't know what would Steve do to make Mantis so giddy about Steve? I want Steve to spend a whole day with the Guardians. Like, either a day or two, just doing whatever. From a guy he has to catch up to helping the Guardians catch up to what he knows. So, like, I can imagine him watching Star Wars, and the Guardians are like, what? And Drax is like, ha ha ha, it's nothing like that. Like, maybe Steve has already seen Star Wars or not before. They could do so much. They could go out for, like, a diner, like, whatever, the Avengers diner, for shawarma. They could do so much, and it's have a fun night. At some point, she asks about Peter Quill, okay? And the Guardians tell him what they know. It's like, oh, it's a guy from here. Like, his mom died, and then he was dragged out by his granddad. He ran away, and then he was abducted by the Ravagers. That's it. That's all Steve was told. And then Steve was like, in my infinite optimism, I'm a curious guy. I've snuck around S.H.I.E.L.D. before in Avengers 2012, so I'm just gonna go around and look for the files myself. So for me, I'm just gonna look around, alright? And then he do some research, he finds Jason Quill is alive and all that stuff. He doesn't tell the Guardians any of this, because Steve at one point asks, like, why can he just go? And he's like, he's just stubborn, that's what he is, he doesn't want to go. And then the funeral happens. Stark's funeral happens. Sorry, Mantis brings a Polaroid. Steve is like, here's a Polaroid, and then Mantis does selfies all the time. Takes a photo of everybody and Peter and all this. This is so fun. Lol. And she takes too many of them. And Steve Rogers gets a couple, or at least one that has Peter Quill's face on it. And so the Stark's funeral happens, and then they all left, and they all part. And then, Mantis says goodbye to Steve. Yay, I will miss you, Steve. And then I have a little more time before I leave. Let's say a day. I'm gonna get dropped off in Missouri, ride my motorcycle, or walk around like Peter Quill did, or will do, and just walk to his home. I'll walk to Jason Quill's home. And then he knocks at the door, and Jason Quill's like,
Oh, Mr. Rogers.
what brings you here? It's like in such honor. And then Steve is like, I need you to sit down. He asks him, like, what was the last thing you know about your grandson? If there's anything that you might think that sounds crazy, I get emails from a talking raccoon. So, nothing's crazy anymore. You can tell me anything. That's a thing he throws out there. He didn't actually think he was going to get a response back. And then Jason Quill's like, for decades, slowly begun to feel like I was crazy for believing that my grandson was abducted by aliens. However, after what you and the Avengers have dealt with for the last God knows how long, I don't think I'm crazy anymore. And then Steve was like, okay. And he gives him the photo. And then Steve tells him everything that he knows. Between you and me, sir, your grandson is alive and well, and he actually leads a group of space Ravagers, or a group of heroic aliens. I couldn't imagine being Jason Quill in that moment. Obviously, he's overcome with emotion, but he doesn't know what to feel. He's asking Steve, like, is he here now? Like, where is he? Why isn't he here? He's like, oh, they already left. Oh. He probably presumes I'm dead. Obviously, this is an understatement to how Jason Quill is reacting. Very much so. So he presumes I'm dead. I don't think it's that, sir. The only thing that matters to him is his mother. And it's gone. I spend time with his friends. He didn't want to leave the ship. It's like he's afraid of this planet. He only came here to help us fight Thanos, and that's it. To save the world. Why are you telling me all this? Like, I appreciate you trying to give me closure, but why do you tell me this? And then Steve Rogers is like, he gives him the photo. He gives him any photo. At least, let's say one photo. He gives him the one photo of Peter Quill. Is like, because he's coming back. Although I've told you that he's afraid of this planet, he's going to face it like a man one day. And when he sees you again, I want you to remember what he looks like. Because he's not ready yet. He is not ready yet, and he will be. He survived this long in space. He'll come back. Cinema. You know what's funny? Between 2023 and the time they actually reunite, it's like a year or two, so like, it's not that long. He'll come back. And in the off chance he doesn't, I think it'll be nice to know that your grandson helped save the universe. What I'm not going to tell you is that he also helped end the universe. But we don't talk about that. We're not going to... I don't think he's going to tell him that. I feel like that's for Peter to tell him himself. Before any of you say, actually, this doesn't make sense because of this and that. Listen, let's retrace the scene of the reunion again. And let's say he was dropped off in the ship. Because I highly doubt that he kept a Milano for himself on Earth. Okay, he was dropped out by Rocket or somebody. And then he walks by himself in Missouri. Like, he's somewhere in Missouri that he remembers, and then he walks to the neighborhood. Because I want you to know, Peter Quill can care so less. He can care so less about Earth that he even forgot that was the name of the planet.
You're from Earth.
Not from Earth, I'm from Missouri.
Yeah, that's on Earth. What are you hassling us for?
Because all he knows on this planet is his family and Missouri. That's the only thing he knows about Earth, or at least he rarely remembers. From memory, his best memory, he can just go find his childhood home where his grandfather lives. And then when he knocks on the door, he sees Jason's new wife, and he doesn't know who she is. So he's like, oh, I think I might got the wrong... And his head is like, I'm on the off chance just in case. I'm looking for Jason Quill. And then she's like, yep, right here. She knows. Like, obviously, she's seen the photo, obviously, with Jason. However, he's like, we never met before. It's better if you see him first, and yeah. I know it's a bit stretchy, but like, no Reed Richards. I'm too proud of this theory not to put out on the internet, to put out in Century's Void. So he sees his grandfather, and obviously his grandfather immediately recognizes him, not only because of, family, but also, in my headcanon, because Steve Rogers gave him that photo. He looked at this every day. Every day, there's at some point he looks at this photo. One day you're going to come back. Or if you're not, at least I know what you look like now. And then, that happens, and they reunite, and all's good. And then you get the scene, in the post-credits scene, where they're just chilling. And I couldn't even imagine, knowing what you know as Jason Quill, you find out that the Kurt Russell was Eagle the Living Planet and was in charge of the expansion thing that you had to deal with. That'd be bonkers! I feel like Jason Quill's lore dump from his grandson will be the biggest lore dump of all time. And also there should be an extra scene where time passes by. Mantis is going to visit Peter. But at some point, she has to find out that Steve Rogers is not around anymore. And that's going to make her sad. Like, I want to know what moment causes Steve Rogers to be Mantis's one of favorite humans like that. I know this whole thing I made up is this headcanon, as fun and as great as I'm proud of it as it is, it's so extra. It's like, you could just see this one scene and be like, oh, cute. He recognizes him because, family trauma or something. But this whole thing not only makes this scene cooler, in my opinion, but also wraps up several other things on certain characters. It just puts a circle. It just makes things more sense. I always thought about the idea of like Star-Lord and Endgame, the whole reunion thing, the whole Mantis Steve Rogers thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, what if I connect them all? What if I connect the three things that was bugging my brain for a long time, and now it's like I connect them all into one singular thing? Marvel is never going to make this short, but if anyone on the internet's going to do it, please do it. Like, I just want to see a sad edit online on Instagram, just like a sad animated, like animatic or animated like edit where it's like Mantis and Steve Rogers, and she finds out he's not around anymore. That'll be sad, bro. Oh, and Jason Quill has to tell Peter Quill about the Avengers lore, that what he knows. And it's like, oh wow, that's bonkers. I know people are gonna not like this theory because it's extra and it just ruins any simplicity of that one scene, which is fair. But at the same time, what's wrong with having fun? Like, I love to connect all the dots as much as I can, even if it's so extra to what the original scene was intended. Like, I could care less if they never make this short on Steve Rogers returning the Infinity Stones, because we all know what happens. Even though the only thing that people care about that is the reunion between Steve and Red Skull. But I feel like, to me, what's more important is the story of what I just told. I mean, like, how Steve Rogers reunited Jason Quill with his grandson. Properly. Instead of, and I say properly because obviously either way, Steve or not, they're going to reunite. I will say one more thing, and this is so cool to me. This has nothing to do with the theory, but it's everything to do with this one scene. It's the fact that I love how when Peter Quill reunites with the granddad, it's different clothes, but the same color choices are the ones that we first see him in Guardians 1. I love that. And people are going to dismiss it. People are going to say, like, I'm actually, according to this What If episode, this wouldn't have happened because of this. Okay, fine. If I miss something, fair enough. But I'd be lying to you if I would say I am not proud of my theory or I'm not proud of my headcanon. What is your craziest headcanon? Like, what's your craziest headcanon in the MCU? I'd like to know that. Hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you don't like my theory, okay. But if you do, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.